It's the 60 Go podcast presented by Men's Sports. Joining me in the studio, Damien Seibold. Seibold, how are you, mates?
I'm good, mate.
The thing I want to start with first is Newcastle yesterday. Ponga, obviously we hope he's okay, but if he's okay come the finals time, I really think they can make a prelim.
Yeah, well, I do too, mate. He is unreal. Like, for the first 6-7 years of his career, I really thought he was going to be a what if or if only type player. But the last 8 to 10 weeks, and I hope it can continue for the rest of his career now, he has been the best he can be. He's consistent. He's being a leader. And I do think it's got a lot to do with him trusting some of the other guys in the team to do their job, and then he just has to pick his moments. But he's getting involved. And in the past, I've been critical about him sort of floating in and out of games, and, you know, he might be brilliant for 10 minutes and then you don't see him for the next 70. But he's been excellent.
I think it's a matter of, as well, with Newcastle, that every single player in the team is playing their best that they could possibly play. Phoenix Crosland, not a superstar by any means, but I tell you what, he's going great guns for them.
He is. He's doing his job. And that's the thing, like you said, they're all doing their job. So, you know, any team with Ponga in it, sure, they could, sky's the limit. If he turns it on, he could beat anyone.
And it's really exciting heading for them next year. We've got Jaden Brayley back. Hopefully that he can come back and have a sustained run of fitness. But adding him back into the team, it'll add a lot. And
for sure.
They should be aiming for top 4 next year.
They'll miss Dom Young. I think
Yes,
that can't be understated. Like, he scored 21, 22 tries this year, but that's not what makes him so good for them. It's his carries. And they're going to miss him.
He's one of the best wingers in the comp now, Dom Young.
He is, mate.
I will say, though, that pass by Tyson Gamble yesterday was a work of art.
Yeah, it was.
I just want to talk about Cronulla, though. I don't take too much out of this game. No Nico. They had a lot of reasons to be up for this game, Newcastle. It was in Newcastle on a Sunday afternoon. They genuinely get up for those old boys games. But I'm not too concerned about Newcastle compared to last week, for example, after that game.
Mate, look, Cronulla are 6th for a reason. They're the 6th best team in the comp. Simple as that. Like, they're not going to win the comp. I very much doubt that they're going to make a prelim.
No.
So that's where they belong. And
what it's going to come down to as well is the Warriors, who we'll talk about as well. They're winning, but they're falling off. The Warriors, like their performances are nowhere near as good.
When were they? Sorry, I need to be careful of how I word this, because they've been really good all year. But when have they been excellent? When have they belted? They haven't belted anyone all year. They haven't looked like a superstar team all year, but they keep winning.
Yeah.
So they get the job done.
It probably is a great trait. I will say, though, I definitely don't think they've been impressive now as they were 10 weeks ago. Maybe,
but I still just don't think that they were that impressive then. Oh, yeah. And it's a funny one because they're sitting 3rd and they'll finish 3rd.
Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting because to me the Warriors lose week 1 of the finals no matter who they play in that top 4. And so whoever gets the Warriors in week 2...
I'm not certain on that.
You don't think so?
No. Warriors beat Brisbane based on the forward packs.
Yep.
But again, Tohu Harris, that's a big out.
Tohu Harris is a big out. I personally don't see it. Look, it could happen. Obviously, it's game of football.
Where I think that struggle is, I don't know if they can contain the Broncos' outside backs.
Yeah, that's
the thing for me.
That's a real strength for the Broncos there. Absolutely. I will say, I think that whoever gets the Warriors in week 2 of the finals has a massive advantage. So the reason why I say Knights can make a prelim, if they get the Warriors, I'd favour the Knights.
In New Zealand?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I can't see a team outside of Penrith or Melbourne travelling to New Zealand and winning.
It's pretty remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah. Again, they need to be right. I mean, Metcalf, I don't know how bad that... Is it his hemi or his quad that he's hurt? I think his hemi, wasn't it? Yeah, I don't know how bad that is. You know, while he's not a world beater, they probably need him. He's been going good for them. In saying that, I saw Tamari Martin was deep bench for the Warriors on the weekend as well, so he mustn't be too far away.
The Warriors, they do look locked into that 3rd spot, barring some for and against craziness. But I suppose Penrith could leap Brisbane this week if the Storm win as well. So the top four is yet to be sort of finalised there, except for the fact that we do know who's in the top four.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So out of... We'll start with Penrith. So Penrith had a loss to the Eels over the weekend. God, it must be a bittersweet feeling for yourself.
Well, you're only as good as your last game. Basically, we won the comp.
Exactly. It's the earliest Mad Monday in history, by the way.
Para were great though. Gutho was unbelievable.
Yeah, Dylan Brown was fantastic.
Yeah, he was. Penrith were a bit off.
I don't think Penrith will lose again for the rest of the year. I think that's it.
Jerome Luai is a big out.
But if they get him back for a prelim, then they only have to win one game to get to the prelim.
Exactly.
So I still have them strong favourites to win the comp, and I know that they did lose to Parramatta, but Parramatta have this bizarre thing of turning up in against top quality opposition and being rubbish against terrible opposition.
I think Para are 5 from their last 7 against Penrith now after that. So that's ludicrous.
They've got a similar record against Melbourne as well. They have a really good record against Melbourne. So, look, I don't take too much out of it. It's probably a great time to get a wake-up call like that. You'd rather it now than in 2 weeks' time.
And do you really think Ivan Cleary gives a rat's whether he finishes first or second?
No. Effectively, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Because
the road to the grand final will still go through Penrith. Like, they won't have to go to Brisbane at all.
That's right.
So, the road will still go through Penrith there as long as they get a win this week. Would you rest players going into this weekend?
No,
I wouldn't either.
If I was going to do it, I would have done it over the last 2 or 3 weeks, freshen them up then, because they got this week. For all intents and purposes, Penrith, I can't see them losing round 1 of the semis. Then all of a sudden, blokes could go 3 weeks, 4 weeks with only playing 1 game.
That's right.
And that's a risk.
That's right. Melbourne have been in that trap before
it's
as well.
hurt them, hasn't it?
It has. They've rested the last round. If you're going to rest players, I think the round to do it is the round that's just happened.
Yeah.
So Dylan Edwards...
or the week before. That 2 or 3 weeks before the last round. Because I think you want to go into that last round full strength, if possible, firing. It's almost like a full strength trial when you're sitting in a position like these guys are.
Yeah, and full strength against full strength, I think Penrith should get the job done pretty easily against Cowboys. Yeah. I will say, the depth at Penrith, I don't think is an issue at the moment as far as injuries go. With Jerome Luai going down, who would you play at 6? Cogger at 6.
Yeah. And again, you think about, Para won. Para got blokes missing. Mitchell Moses, who's been arguably their best player, was out. But when you sit back and think about it, there was no Sorensen, no Mitch Kenny. Luai played, 20 minutes?
Yep.
Dylan Edwards didn't play. Isaac Tungo didn't play.
Taruva
didn't play. That's 6 or 7 starters.
Yep.
So... but I don't think Ivan Cleary is going to be too concerned at all.
No. Do you still have Penrith as clear favourites?
I do. Yeah, I do.
So if you're picking a grand final now, who would you pick? I tell you what, if Ponga's healthy, I just have a real feeling about Newcastle. They're
like that Parramatta from last year, Raiders from the couple of years ago. Just that team that's going to come from 4th, 5th and go on a bit of a run.
And
they've won 8 straight.
Yes. They remind me of the Cowboys in 2017.
Yeah, 17, go on that run.
Yep.
I don't think they can win the comp, but it wouldn't shock me if they make it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I think there's more chance of it being a Penrith Knights GF than Penrith Broncos. And Penrith Broncos are the clear favourite, bookie-wise.
I tell you what, I think the Knights are the second best team in the comp at the moment. So I would favour the Knights to go to Brisbane and beat Brisbane if it came to it.
Yeah.
The Storm, I want to touch on then. Ryan Papenhuyzen came in with 20 minutes to go.
He's lost a yard of speed, hey?
You think so?
Yeah. He looked good. He ran hard. He was explosive. He ran hard.
The team lifted.
Yeah, for sure.
When he came on.
Yeah.
They were a different team when he came on. Do you think you have to play him at fullback this week because it's either now or never?
Well, Jerome Hughes is out, so I think Meaney goes to halve, yeah. I reckon that's their only option really anyway, isn't it? They got the young fella there. Yeah. But I think they're probably... Well, this week they could always use it as a trial play Pezzett at half, leave Meany at fullback, and bring Pap off the bench for one more week.
Because there's a fairly good chance the Storm will play Broncos again.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it definitely could fall that way. It just depends, though, doesn't it? Because can the Warriors finish? I'm looking at the table, for and against wise. Yeah, okay. If Warriors lose, Storm win, all options are available because Storm could finish third or fourth. Penrith and Broncos could flip. So
yes, but I'm assuming the Warriors win. So the Storm play the Broncos this week, and there's a very good chance that they'll do it again next week at Suncorp, just a replay again.
Yep.
These games have a tendency to whoever wins this game, the last round of the final, has a terrible record in the actual semi-finals itself. So I remember there was one year, the most recent example I think was Penrith played Manly. This is just before Penrith were great.
Yep.
Trent Barrett was the coach of Manly at the time.
Yep.
And Manly absolutely destroyed Penrith. Oh, sorry. Penrith destroyed Manly in the last week of the final.
Manly didn't make the finals when Barrett was there, though.
Yeah, they did 1 year.
Did they?
1 year, sorry. Manly destroyed Penrith in week one of the finals. And then, Manly destroyed Penrith in the last game of the regular season.
And then it flipped.
And then it totally flipped. It was almost the same score. It was 30-8, then 30-6.
Yeah, there's a track record of that. I mean, you go all the way back to when the Jared Hayne run and Para got flogged by Dragons the last round, flipped the script the next week and gave them a touch-up. I think last year Roosters got hammered by Rabbits in the last round, and then it flipped in the first round of the semis, or vice versa.
Yes.
It definitely happened last year as well. So, yeah, you're right. It does happen quite often.
I'd be feeling really good if I'm in the Melbourne camp right now. You've got a really good record against the Broncos. You've got a really good record at Suncorp.
Broncos have been great. They've been unreal this year.
Yep.
And, Captain Negative, I'll take my negative hat off and give him a rap. I just think that I can see Melbourne, if they play them in a semi in Brisbane, turning up and putting 30 on them.
Yeah. Oh, they've got a tremendous record against Brisbane.
And Melbourne for the last probably 10 years, since after the salary cap scandal, they have a big habit of just coasting. They just coast. They do what they have to do. They don't give a rat's. They know that they can put themselves in a position to be top four until it matters. And Cameron Smith was the king of it. The last few years of his career, he just did enough. He played in a dinner suit until it mattered, and then bang, they were away.
Big topic of the week will be Rabbitohs and Roosters.
How can two teams not make it? How can three teams not make it? Because I don't really want to see the Rabbits, Cowboys, or Roosters make it because I don't think they deserve to. One of them's going to make it though. Yeah.
So the easiest way to look at it is the Rabbitohs Roosters game.
Yeah.
Right.
Winner's a chance, loser's gone.
Yes, exactly. The loser is definitely gone.
Yeah.
So who wins that game? So the Rabbitohs have played like absolute bastards for 6 to 8 weeks now. Penrith have an historically great defense this year, right? Historically great. They average 12 points a game against them. In the first 11 weeks of the competition, South Sydney were at 15. So very bloody good. Since then, 28.
Yeah, I was going to say it's close to 30, isn't it?
Yeah. So they're leaking like a sieve at the moment. But
there's issues. There is massive, massive issues there. I don't care what anyone says. Sam Burgess walks away with a week and a half to go and says it's because his wife's about to have a baby. Please.
Yes.
Or his girlfriend's about to have a baby, as if. There's something going on there. Who knows? I know there's a lot of rumours floating around. I know that all of those text messages that get sent out through all the WhatsApp groups and all that sort of stuff, 99% of them are a load of crap. So that's one thing that people need to put into perspective. When it comes to journos putting stories out there, whether it's on TV or in the paper, 90% of them are crap. So that's the other thing that people need to be aware of and put into perspective. But for me, the telling sign is Sam Burgess walking away.
Yeah.
That's something's not right.
If Sam Burgess walks away from South Sydney, it's like God disowning Jesus. Like that,
it is. Yeah, it is. He is the golden boy. He's been 15 years almost, or 12, 13 years that he's been there. He he is South Sydney. He's such a passionate bloke. He loves the place. Everyone there loves him. And it's so strange.
South Sydney have been around for 115 years, and he's on the podium for iconic South Sydney
Yeah,
figures.
of course he is. He's definitely top 5.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So for him to walk away, it doesn't show you that he doesn't think that they can win a premiership. It shows you that
He doesn't want to be associated with them.
absolutely, that's what it shows you, because I think if he genuinely thought that they could win a comp, and they were still carrying on like Muppets, I think he would leave anyway.
Oh, I do too, because, and again, I don't know the bloke. I've met him once, shook his hand once, that's it. But based on what I've been told by my brother, who knows him really well, and other people who know him really well, they all say the same thing. He's a man's man.
Yeah.
He makes mistakes, he gets himself in trouble every now and again, but he is a man's man. He owns things. So if he stuffs up, he owns it. If he has success, he owns it. If someone needs to have a tough chat, he'll have a tough chat. He'll look someone in the eye and tell them what he thinks. He won't do anything behind their back. So that's the one thing that I have been told about him.
Fortunately for South, they're not playing Penrith, and they're only playing the Roosters, who have been equally as disappointing this year. This game should end in a draw. It should, hey. Like there should be no winner here.
Who do you think wins?
I think South win.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, if they
Hargraves out
is
probably what would make me say that as well.
That's the big one. If South lose this game and go from top of the premiership ladder, 11 weeks in, premiership favourites, to missing the 8, we all bagged the Broncos last year for their slide. Well, get ready, because your bagging's about to come. Because this is monumental.
The two things are Demetrio and Robinson. One of them is under the pump big time. Robinson's got runs on the board. He's won a few comps, so he's going to have a lot more, wiggle room when it comes to being put under the pump. But the roster he's got is the top 2 roster in the comp. Like I would say Penrith are the only team with a better roster than what he's got at his disposal. And they are fighting tooth and nail to be 8th.
Yep.
Rabbits, they have all the resources. They are what do they call themselves? The pride of the comp, pride of rugby league. They were first after 11 or 12 rounds. If they do not make the finals, there is going to be some serious calls for Demetrio.
And let's be honest, Jason Demetrio has no runs on the board.
No, that's the difference, because I think that even if Roosters make the finals and they finish in 8th, in my mind, they've underperformed big time. So no matter what happens from here.
Absolutely. And it's remarkable how things changed. At that time, Adam O'Brien was under the pump, when Souths were flying, and now it's totally flipped.
8 straight. Like they said that yesterday during the game. At that point in time, I think they were 5 and 10. Would that be right? 5 and 9 it might have been. So 5 wins, 9 losses.
Yep.
And now they've gone on to win 8 straight.
Yep. You got to think about that as well. 8 straight. West Tigers haven't won 8 games in 2 years.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and Newcastle.
West Tigers aren't a good footy side, so the Roosters can't get too excited about yesterday or the other day.
Take your pick. West Tigers, Bulldogs haven't won 8 games in 2 years.
Okay. And I don't know if you plan to chat about this, because obviously it's getting to the point of the year where we need to talk about successful teams, but the Dogs are horrendous.
They were awful.
The Dogs are... Can you think of any players that the Dogs have unavailable yesterday? They were as good as they can be.
Yeah. It's
off the top of my mind, I can't think of anyone not playing.
I can't think of anyone off the top of my head.
Kickout was there, Pengai Jr., Marnie, Burton.
It was really shocking, though.
Because Manly have got a host of players out. They've
Tons.
got about 6 or 7 starters out of that side.
Yeah.
And for the first 20, Manly were scratching away. They were there to be taken. And they flogged them.
It's going to come into our top 5 a little bit later on, but they were so bad, the Bulldogs, yesterday. And I just want to say, though, Manly have really... If they had a loss yesterday, Manly, I would have understood, because They've gotten
Yeah.
2 weeks of rubbish calls. Their season's over.
They'd thrown everything they had at the two teams previously.
Yeah, it was a game where it was almost like a give-up game. Like,
Yeah.
you would forgive them for giving up. But I tell you what, they played really well. Daly Cherry Evans
Yeah,
continues to be outstanding.
Cooler was good at fullback.
And that's the one I want to talk about, Cooler at fullback. Do you think your brother, over the off-season, just flirts with the idea of
Playing Tommy in the centres?
playing Tom at centre?
Yeah, no. No, only because if Tommy's fit, he's the best fullback in the comp.
Yeah.
He is. So, and he has to tackle in the front line. And I wouldn't want to put his body there. But for mine, now all of a sudden, if Tommy's under an injury cloud or he plays rep footy again, it's no longer Ruben Garrick plays fullback. It's Cooler.
It's Cooler. And his speed is electric. And him and Saab, when they get together... There was a moment in the game where Addo Carr made a break down the left-hand side and chipped over the top. And as soon as he chipped, he was in full sprint.
Yeah.
Saab gobbled him up instantly.
He did in about 3 strides, didn't he? With those big, long legs. He's lightning.
He'd have to be the fastest player over 100.
Yeah, over 100 for sure.
Over 20, he's probably not even in the top 3.
No, because Addo Carr is lightning. Cooler over 20. You know, I don't have to be too many. Val over 20 explodes.
Yeah.
Herbie Farnworth over 20 explodes.
I'll give him a couple of weeks, but perhaps when he was full health, he was right up there. But over 100. No one's got him.
No, he's got almost Usain Bolt stride, hasn't he?
It is like that.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. But we were talking about the Dogs, how disappointing they were. We'll take a quick break and be back with our top 5. 6 to Go is proudly supported by our friends at Mint Sports. And if you're after a bit of humour in your sports life, maybe try out one of their podcasts, maybe daily.
To baseball. So they had the All-Star weekend this week to break things up. Yeah, that should break it up. That should break up the 182-game season. More baseball. Guys, there's a lot of baseball going on. How do we break it up? You want to have another hit? Sure. Sounds good. Everyone gets a week off. Awesome. I haven't seen Dad in 7 months. Oh, no, he's got to play in the All-Star game. Everyone else gets the week off. The baseballers have to keep playing.
Back with the 6 to Go podcast presented by Mint Sports. Sieves, we're doing our top 5 this week. We're doing the top 5 most disappointing players of 2023. Now, a bit of a kick in the boot. Sticking the boot in here for some of these players. But I
don't like doing this, but...
No, well...
But we need to.
We can come back to the best next week,
yeah.
But every now and then, you got to acknowledge some of the poor performances, and I'll tell you what, there's been a few. Number 5?
Matt Burton.
He's a centre for me.
Of course he is. He's a centre. Yesterday really showed it. Manly weren't great early. It was there for a state of origin quality 5'8" to take control of that game. He had 1 run in the first half.
Yeah.
It's not good enough. His performances haven't been good enough. The squad that the Dogs have got, they should be a lot better than what they are. And, you got to point finger somewhere. And, well, Matt Burton's probably going to take a lot of it.
Absolutely. Number 5 for me is Lachlan Ilias. I tell you what, Demetrio coming out last week or the week before and saying he's on track to be the best half that South have ever had. I don't agree with that, Jason.
Is this list on players that we thought were good or what we've told are good? Because we're told Ilias is good. I've never thought Ilias was good.
Look, I think it's on expectation at the start of the year. So I didn't expect much from Lachlan Ilias heading into the year. I will say, though, this putting Lachlan Ilias in it, I do think comes back on Cody a bit as well. I think Cody has been disappointing at stages. However, I would have liked to have seen some things better for Lachlan Ilias. And I'm talking about basic stuff.
Man,
he's good for one horrendous kicker game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just didn't think he was very good to start with. But
Fair
I am
enough.
with you.
Fair enough.
He's underperformed.
You can bank him for a shocker kicker game.
But that's like we could have Sam Walker, and I could have had him easily in this list. But I never thought he was good to start with. So
yeah, fair enough. Number 4,
Reid Marnie.
Yep.
Not only is his performance gone backwards, I think that he's carrying on like a petulant brat at times as well. Some of the stuff that he's got in his game now, I don't know whether it was disguised at Para because they were relatively successful the whole time he was there, but his effort isn't anywhere near as what it was at Para. He misses a lot of tackles. He's constantly blowing up at teammates, the ref. Niggle with opposition players is becoming more and more of a thing for him. I just think he's struggling. He's gone backwards for mine.
Reid Marnie features in my list a little bit later, but I will just mention the Dogs missed 48 tackles yesterday, right? Reid Marnie missed 11.
Okay, I didn't know. Oh yeah, I did not know that, but it doesn't surprise me because some of his efforts were poor. And then when he tried to carry on with Kepi, and then Kepi ran straight past him as well about 2 sets later.
Yeah. You know you're in trouble.
And look, Kepi hasn't run past anyone ever.
Ever. Josh Schuster for me at 4. Obviously the talent's there. He set up 3 tries apparently at New South Wales Cup on the weekend.
Yep.
Played pretty well. But I think that some serious questions do need to be asked, and we obviously a lot of media reports come out about Josh Schuster and particularly his money and stuff like that, which we'll never know. But I just think that there are some systematic, fundamental problems there with Josh Schuster as far as attitude and
effort. It's effort.
I think like he has.
I don't think he's got a poor attitude. I think it's effort.
Fair enough. I was thinking about Josh Schuster over the weekend. He should go and look at Wade Graham.
Yep. Or even Bryce Cartwright.
As well. But he can be that
Yeah.
that left-hand side back rower who's got a kick in him as well, and
ball play on an edge.
Exactly.
If something happens during a game and you lose a half, or you can shuffle him in then. And again, he wasn't in my top 5, but that's mainly because there was a lot of hope there for him. But I didn't include a few blokes who missed a lot of time through suspension or injury.
Fair enough.
So again, that's why I never put a Sam Walker in, because he missed half the season with injury.
Yeah.
There was a couple of other guys like that, which for mine, they've been disappointing. But
Well, Josh Hodson's been disappointing, but he's injured.
that's right. Yeah, exactly right. Definitely.
Number 3.
Okay, so my number 3 is John Bateman.
John Bateman. What did we expect from him though?
Better than that.
You know what's going to be funny?
He's a test prop.
You know what's going to be funny? So, John Bateman, a lot of English clubs were saying he's probably cooked. Like his body's gone. So he's come back over here playing in the NRL. Siwa Taukeiaho has just signed a 2-year deal with the Bulldogs. He self-admitted, I'm actually done. My body is cooked.
Yeah.
I cannot take NRL anymore. He's coming back for a 2-year deal on over $1 million.
Depends how they use him, I suppose, with 30 minutes.
I'll tell you what, he better be a good coach, because I don't think he's going to be on the field a hell of a lot.
Well, I just think Bateman, as Papali, he's been disappointing too, compared to where he was 12, 18, 24 months ago. But his effort appears to be still there. He seems to be, his work rate's still high. He's not as effective, but again, he's probably not playing with as good of players around him. Bateman, I don't know. It's a weird one. I just think he's been poor.
Fair enough. Number 3 for me is old Victor the Inflictor.
Yeah, I forgot about him. That's a good one.
I tell you what, his form, and he must be scared of the judiciary, because he has just fallen off a cliff, in my opinion.
He was all right on the weekend, and the week just gone, he's been okay. But before that, he's been horrendous.
His impact on games is just...
I'm dirty at myself. I forgot that one, Tommy.
Number 2, I'll do mine first. Reid Marnie, because we've mentioned him. Your number 2?
My number 2 is Anthony Milford.
Milf?
Yeah.
Okay.
For the so-called super coach and the MILF whisperer, people expected that they were going to get great things out of Milf this year. Milf has been poor when he plays for Capras, let alone the Dolphins. So, if you watch that game on the weekend, the Capras semi-final, they would have been better off having Aaron Moore start and Jack White, a young local fella, on the bench than Milford playing. He just doesn't look interested. Doesn't look like he cares.
Yeah.
And I actually was expecting something out of him this year. He's playing for his career.
Yeah.
So for mine, he's been terrible.
Yeah, it's tough to see him getting a gig in the NRL next year. Maybe he's a Super League guy. He could go over Super League.
Possibly, yeah. And he'd probably win gold. What is it? The
Man of
Steel, yeah.
Exactly. Number 1 for me.
Probably the same.
The Cheese.
Yep.
So the Cheese was brought to the Roosters to be an 80-minute Kiwi hooker, test-level hooker. And he's playing 35 minutes off the bench, apart from the weekend. But over the past sort of 5-6 weeks, he's been playing 35 minutes.
And they've been better when Sandon Smith, a young half, is playing hooker.
Exactly. His service is woeful.
It is, but it always has been.
Yep.
And what he could get away with was his running game, because he was such a nuggety, strong thing. Yeah, he was carrying a few extra kilos. They've stripped that off him. So it's taken away that aspect of his game now. He doesn't make meters when he runs. He seems to fall off tackles a little bit more than what he used to as well.
The best times he was playing 9 at the Storm was when he didn't have a pre-season to train at 9 and they just went straight from lock to dummy half.
Yeah, and he'd just run.
Just run.
Yeah.
So, concerning the way they go there, do you think he plays out his contract at the Roosters? Because the Roosters would like to bring in some other people, obviously, and if he's on a lot of money, he might be expendable.
They're ruthless too.
They are.
Yeah. Round 10 next year will tell us whether or not he stays there.
Yeah, I think he's a certainty for next year, but going forward after that...
If he's playing like he does at the moment, next year, no way. They'll get rid of him.
Absolutely. Seibs, good to see you.
Thanks, mate.
This has been the 6 Go podcast.